This is Grace with Graceful Living. Today we have a special guest, Lillian Cumic from Lillian's Vegan World. This is also a special episode because this is my first Zoom interview. Lillian is going to tell us about her journey to becoming vegan and moving to Hawaii.
So I'm Lillian Cumic. I'm the author of the newly released vegan cookbook, Hawaii, A Vegan Paradise. I also happen to be a vegan chef of 20 plus years now. I recently moved to Hawaii in 2018, December of 2018. So it's just been about 2.5 years since moving here. I'm from Sydney, Australia. That's where I grew up and that's where I was born. But I did actually find my way over to gorgeous Japan, where I lived for 30 years. And that's where I started my career in the food industry. I also teach cooking classes. So I've been doing that longer than I have actually been a vegan chef. In Sendai, Japan, the city that I lived in, that's where I opened up my dining bar. We called them dining bars back then. And that is an establishment with alcohol, but I served 7-course vegetarian meals. I was vegetarian at that time, so that's where I really got into my kitchen. I ran the kitchen, worked as the head chef as well as the owner of my bar. So that's where all that happened. And then, after moving here, a lot of exciting things. I started teaching classes at Down to Earth, one of my favorite places. And that's still my go-to for shopping, apart from obviously the farmers market. I found myself writing during the pandemic. I actually got the book deal for Hawaii Vegan Paradise before the pandemic started, but it just happened to coincide with that 2020, the year where everything changed for all of us. And I was actually lucky in some respects to be able to just concentrate on writing the book and testing the recipes and stuff. And so it all happened last year, and it's all very exciting.
That is very exciting. I asked Lillian how she became vegan.
This is quite a mystery how I became vegetarian, because my parents, both excellent home cooks. My mother is actually from Fiji, my father from Serbia, former Yugoslavia. And they both love to cook, and they definitely are far from vegan. I'd come from a family of big meat and fish eaters. Something must have happened when I was younger. We're guessing I might have seen something that didn't resonate with me. My dad, being Serbian, he used to actually come home with the slaughtered animal and chop it up with his friends.
Oh,
it was already skinned and all that stuff. So I did see that several times. Thinking about it now, it's quite vulgar for someone like myself who is vegan, but I guess that probably helped. So I never ever, from a very young age, I never looked at meat and thought it to be food. I've never associated the two. Animals are animals, food is food. They were never one and the same thing. So that is how I became vegetarian. And my parents kind of didn't force me to eat what I didn't want to eat. And because they're such good cooks, they ended up just sort of cooking vegetarian food for me. But that meant, when I say I grew up vegetarian, I'm going to say that was one of the most unhealthy periods in my life. I think a vegetarian diet's very unhealthy personally.
Yes.
And from my experience, because you end up eating a lot of junk food, as long as it doesn't have, chunks of meat in it. Like I was eating pizzas,
Yes.
often, and pasta, and just lots of junk food, ice cream, candies, chocolate. So it wasn't until 15 years ago, I was 35 when I became fully vegan. And it wasn't something that I didn't wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to give up dairy. That was the last thing to go for me, because I was one of those vegetarians that didn't eat anything from meat or fish products, but I did eat cheese. Cheese and dairy was still something that I allowed myself to eat. And so it was kind of easy. It was honestly not difficult for me to just stop eating dairy. And at that time, I had actually started teaching vegan cooking classes in Japan before I became vegan. So the more I started experimenting with vegan food, I was like, okay, I feel like I don't really need to be hanging on to the dairy anymore. Yeah. And I remember the first 6 months after giving up dairy, again, it was easy for me because I was in the kitchen cooking and learning how to make cheeses and learning how to make it work for me. But literally after the first 6 months, I noticed changes very, very quickly in the skin, in my body. Very surprising things like cellulite started disappearing. Definitely the cellulite started getting better. I immediately noticed my body was just getting slimmer and firmer, and it just, everything felt better. And I guess because of the less information from giving up dairy, there was nothing going on in my body that was making me feel bad. So it was one of the best things I did. And I remember in Japan, by the first year after going vegan, people I hadn't met for a long time were like, what are you doing? You know, they were assuming I was doing something, I don't know, plastic surgery or something. Not that I changed that drastically, to be honest, but very subtle changes that I just felt so healthy. And I've never felt better in my life. I'm 50 now, and still
amazing. Look amazing, Lillian.
Oh, so do you. And every time I meet someone who is on a plant-based diet, the first thing, Grace, I notice is everyone looks younger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you agree?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, their skin too, because dairy is really, really bad for your skin. So I feel like everybody's skin is better.
From a medical standpoint, I'm sure you could really inform the viewers on how it works. But dairy is one of those things, like if you want to change your diet, if you want to really commit to getting healthier or cleaning up your diet, the first thing I recommend, and I will say just as a disclaimer, I'm not a nutritionist or a medical professional, but from personal experience, the moment you give up the dairy, it's a game changer. You're going to notice a lot of changes in your health and your body very, very quickly. So I do recommend trying that.
Why don't you tell us how you got to Hawaii, and then how you started Lillian's Vegan World?
So I actually moved to Hawaii because I found the love of my life.
Such a beautiful story.
I know. It is, like the way he stalked me until I agreed to marry him. So actually, my husband, well, my now husband, my fiance at the time, he and I were dating from across the seas for, I guess, a year and a half. We moved very quickly. We knew when we met in Hawaii. I was here in Hawaii on my first trip here, actually, when we met through mutual friends. Just one of those coincidence things, happened to be at the right place at the right time. And so while I was waiting for my papers to move across here, it took almost 2 years, about 18 months, a little bit longer. During that period, I was also working on getting my cat's papers so that she could come over with us as well. And then actually hers came before mine. So I ended up bringing her. Dave picked us up in Japan so that we could take her on the plane here together, because I was so nervous about bringing her here. We had her in cabin, which was great. Anyway, she arrived 3 months before my papers came through, so she got a head start in Hawaii. I came across in 2019 once I wrapped up my chapter in Japan, which was bittersweet because I love Japan, and I ended up really bonding with a lot of people, as you can imagine, and was very close to a lot of people there. So as that chapter ended, my new one started in Hawaii. And when I arrived here just before Christmas, so 2019 in January, I set up my LLC, Lillian Vegan LLC. And I basically tried to do everything that I was doing in Japan. So I started meeting people, getting out there and networking, and finding out how I can start cooking lessons. That was my first thing. And then I did come across Down to Earth. That's where I started, I think, in February, a month after we met. So I was doing that a couple of times a month, and was able to meet a lot of people. In February, someone introduced me to Think Tech Hawaii, which is a wonderful organization here of citizen journalists. They host, Think Tech Hawaii supports hosts who talk about their passion, anything to do with helping the community. So mine was veganism, like the vegan lifestyle. And when I went in for that interview, they were very interested because no one was actually doing a show about the plant-based diet.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a little audition and that went well. And I've been doing that for 2 years now. So every second week, my show is on. You can watch Lillian's Vegan World on YouTube, and it's sort of spread over a lot of platforms, but they do have a YouTube channel. And my beautiful host today, Dr. Grace Chen, was on my show twice, talking about her journey, your journey, and also Grace talked about the COVID vaccine, which was a really awesome show, very informative, and a lot of people that I know who watched it really were so grateful for
Oh,
you
that's
sharing
good.
that information.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
so that's how I got into that. And I've met so many people. Like last week, the guest on my show was a female vegan bodybuilder.
Oh, awesome. That's great.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have to share. I will share that to my
Mhm.
social media
Yeah.
platforms. You can find me on Lillian Vegan anywhere. My Facebook page is also Lillian Vegan. On
Mhm.
Instagram, I'm at Lillian Vegan underbar Chef Hawaii. I also have a YouTube channel. I also do, Grace, want to tell you that my second book is coming out at
Yes,
the
you
end
were
of the
telling me about
year.
that.
Yes,
What is it gonna be called again?
it's called Tasting Hawaii
Nice, nice.
Vegan Style.
Mhm.
So that will be hopefully ready by the end of the year before the holidays again. So that's something to look forward to. But yeah, anybody who loves vegan food, I think this book did so well, Hawaii Vegan Paradise, because it's really unusual. I veganized Hawaiian cuisine. It's a really fun book. I hope anyone who's watching tries and grabs a copy. It's available at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, in store and online, and independent stores all around Hawaii, including Costco. The vegan lifestyle is so much more than just food. It's one thing that I really aim to do in my life personally is to think of life as a win-win. Whatever's a win for me should be a win for everyone else. So I think plant-based diet or the vegan lifestyle really is a win-win for everyone. I mean, there's no denying that there's such a contradiction within people who say they love animals, yet they continue to eat meat and support, what goes on. So I think the vegan lifestyle definitely goes much further than just food. It really is a whole new mindset. And the more you delve into plant-based cooking and start feeling better, the more aware you become of what's going on around you, including other living beings around you. So it is a win-win for everyone.
Stay tuned for the next episode where Lillian will show us one of her recipes from her book, Hawaii, a Vegan Paradise. Lillian is on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, or follow me on Instagram. Please go to graceandhawaii.com for more information.